Hey, welcome back to Uncommon Pallor. It's been a minute. I haven't uploaded a video in quite some time. Having said that, your luck's finally run out because I have returned. I've got a stack of records to talk about, as always. I also noticed that during my absence I surpassed the 100 subscriber mark, so I'll do a contest for that, just to show my undying gratitude to each and every one of you. I'll do a video about that later in the week. So, let's get into some records, because that's why we're all here, right? First two I have are new releases on 625 Thrashcore, long-standing label that I am grateful is still around. This first one, near and dear to my heart, because I love this band. It's a new 7-inch by They Live. It's called Summer of Love Canal. It's actually a split release between 625 and Blast for Humanity. If you've never heard They Live, they're from Buffalo, New York. Fast, brutal, cavemanish, just kick your teeth out hardcore. The comparisons to Infest, definitely there. Although I feel these guys can hold their own, in a sea of bands that try and sound like Infest. Yeah, this is a fantastic record. And I was stoked to hear there was new They Live material coming out, and this definitely didn't disappoint. If you're ever sitting around one day and want to have your teeth kicked out by music, you need this. Next up, band I'd never heard of before getting this. It's a self-titled 7-inch by Mescaline Maniacs. Split release between 625 and Thrash Tapes. This band is from Sacramento, California. They kind of remind me of a band like Antichrist Demon Core, like kind of that, the new school of power violence type deal. It's hard hitting, it's fast, it's crazy, screamy, lots of samples in here. It's good stuff. Might actually be the coolest thing out of Sacramento since 8 is Enough. Actually, who am I kidding? The Bananas and Pounded Clown are from Sacramento, and they're both fantastic. So yeah, anyways, get it. Next, here's one. It's actually from 2014, but it just made its way into my grubby little mitts. It's on Fuck Yoga Records out of Macedonia. It's the Entropy 7-inch by Noothgrush. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with Noothgrush. They're fairly well known. Oakland, California. It's got Dino from Dystopia on vocals. Super heavy doom sludge. I am generally not a fan of the genre because I find it painfully boring. This is one of the bands that gets a pass with me because they're just so damn good at it. I think it might also be because I saw them live and they were just a force to be reckoned with. My ears were ringing for weeks. Super, super good band. If you're into doom and sludge and stuff and you've never actually heard Noothgrush, then I would say, do yourself a favor and get some. Next, we go over to Melbourne, Australia. It's a band called Reaksi. The 7-inch is called Esok Hari Kepunyaan Kita. Yeah. Split release between La Vida es un Mus and Hardcore Victim. This band, the singer/guitar player of this band is a dude named Yeep. He's a Malaysian fellow that lives in Melbourne, Australia. He's been in a bunch of different bands like Piss Christ, Chromosome, Enzyme, ABC Weapons, most of which are like D-beat, super raw, like ball of feedback, crusty punk stuff. This is still fairly raw, but it's way more in the UK 82 style than those other bands. It's pretty good. The first song, Punk Asia, it totally reminds me of No Security by Chaos UK, which isn't a bad thing. So, good stuff. Reaksi. Next one here, it goes into the necessary reissues department. It was originally done in 1985 on Revenge Records, but released this year on Final Doomsday Records. It's a band from Holland called Nog Watt. Record's called Fear. This is fantastic. You know, one of the better old Dutch hardcore bands for sure. Like up there with BGK and No Pigs and whatnot. The drummer for this band actually played in No Pigs. This comes charging right out of the gate. Their musicianship is great. It's better than average. The guitar riffs are very well done, and the bass playing is all over the place and crazy. Drumming's great. Even the vocals are fantastic. Melodic, catchy, still just pissed off hardcore punk. Yeah, not much more I could say. It's so good though. Definitely glad it got reissued, because I'll probably never own an original. And lastly, it's kind of a rescore, because I had this record and I don't know what happened to it. But I saw a copy come up and snagged it. It's from 1988 on Pussmort Records. Exit Condition. It's a band from England. Fast. Like a fast hardcore band, but super melodic. They kind of remind me of Snuff, but like twice as fast. There's a lot of like the whoa vocals that like kind of wash over top of the songs that almost gives it like kind of a chaotic feel, if that makes sense. Yeah, this is fantastic. As the band dragged on, they started to adopt more of they kind of toned it down a bit and adopted more of like a Leatherface approach to songwriting, which is still good, but I like this stuff. The fast, super melodic shit. It's great. So yeah, if you ever get a chance, get this EP's called Bite Down Hard. On to the big vinyl. On La Vida es un Mus, because I buy a lot of their fucking records. It's Maladia, Sacred Fires. Had no idea about this. Didn't listen to it before I got it. People in this band all play in tons of other bands, but none of whom I was actually familiar with. This is great. It's modern DIY hardcore punk. It's got that like stomping kind of quality to it. It's fairly well produced. But there's I can pick out Conflict and Rudimentary Peni in this, plain as day. So there's definitely like a UK 80s anarcho-punk feel to it. Maybe not as glaring as like bands like, say, Bad Breeding, but it's definitely in here. This is good. It's actually kind of a sleeper because I didn't expect to like it as much as I do. But yeah, Maladia. And next we got a band from Germany, Axion Mutanta. I think that's how you say it. Whatever. Worse than a virus. Split release between Power It Up and Give Praise Records. You got a gatefold with pictures and words. This is good shit. It's fast, crusty punk, but it almost borders on kind of a stripped down grindcore. Raging double bass flying through the whole thing. At least I think it's double bass. If not, he's playing a single bass super fast. The singer, he sounds like in cartoons when people come across like a monster in a cave. He sounds like that monster in the cave, which is pretty awesome. But yeah, Axion Mutanta. Next up, band from England, Disattack, A Bomb Drops. This was originally released as a cassette in 1986. This is on Demo Tapes Records, who always release interesting, cool shit. This band, most notable because Bill Steer played guitar in it, and he, of course, would go on to be in Napalm Death and Carcass. Judging by the name, Disattack, yeah, definitely a huge Discharge influence to it. But the singer, the way he phrases and paces the words, it kind of reminds me of like Sothera from Crucifix a little bit. So it's got that little bit to it that discerns it from just other bands that thought Discharge was cool. So yeah, this is really good. Next, a fantastic 80s band. It's the 1984 LP by Neon Christ. I think this was like a record store day release this year or whatever. It's on Southern Lord and some other some other label. What the hell? DVL Recordings and Southern Lord, yeah. Neon Christ from Atlanta, Georgia. I first became aware of them because they had a track on the Peace Comp, that being Ashes to Ashes, where it starts out with this kind of, you know, weak, unsure solo singing, and then it just erupts into like play as fast as you can, just kick shit over hardcore. Now this record was obviously all recorded in 1984. It's got the recording session for their 7-inch, something they call the Labor Day sessions, and then the track off the Peace Comp. A lot of it is just like kind of up-tempo, like rump-shaking punk songs with sung vocals. But then there are also some of those like crazy, you know, bordering on something like Siege tracks where, you know, he's doing this like kind of like little solo standing in the spotlight singing, and then it just erupts into chaos. Fucking great band. And we got the double LP Discografia of Los Crudos. It's also on La Vida es un Mas. This is a few years old, but I just never picked it up till now. Probably one of the most important hardcore bands of the 90s. You know, Martin, the singer, has his hand in a lot of shit. He's like a well-known photographer of hardcore and punk. You know, he's been in other bands since Los Crudos, like Needles and NN, and most notably probably Limp Wrist. Fantastic band. Just, you know, for the most part, fast, raw, feedbacky. Sounds like they're playing through practice amps, because they probably are. Very, very political lyrics, especially from the perspective of a Latino, you know, living in America. So, yeah, this is a no-brainer. It's necessary. But I just hadn't picked it up till now. But yeah, fantastic record. And then lastly, I got a gem here from 1985 from Melbourne, Australia. A band called Depression. Australia. First became aware of this band on the Welcome to 1984 comp that Maximum Rock and Roll put out. They did the track What a Strange World on it. Yeah, their first record came out in 84. This is from 85. It's on Reactor Records. The thing with these guys is the track on the Welcome to 1984 comp, it's like kind of plodding, snotty political punk. It's a really, really good song. And the first LP's like that. Then this one here, at some point, they've decided to learn how to, you know, solo like, you know, metal bands do and whatnot. I mean, this is still okay, but what they've done in a year is went from an awesome punk band to an okay metallic punk band. So I like the earlier stuff better. It had rawer production, and I prefer it without the metal leanings, as it were. So still a cool find, still an okay record, but not as good as the first one. So yeah, that's my first one back in a while. I'm out of practice, but whatever, is what it is. See you later this week with contest entry announcement parameters rules. Yeah.